Hi, everyone. This is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest tonight is Mary Eileen Williams. Eileen is a career specialist. She's worked many years of her life in career counseling. And her website, Feisty Side of 50, is a great place for women who are trying to, basically reinvent themselves in their 60s, maintaining that same spirit, but with a different lens on the world. Eileen, it's really great to have you here. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I am very excited to join you, Margaret.
Thank you. And I should have added, by the way, that you are a speaker, an author, and you have a radio show. You're a radio host as well. So you've got lots of great projects that you're working on for women over 60. So,
well, thank you.
Good. So, Eileen, I remembered reading a quote once by George Bernard Shaw, which says something about life is not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. We go through life, wanting to, find ourselves, but we forget that there's this action that's involved. I'd love you to respond to that and tell me if that's how you see this time in our life as well.
I definitely do, because I think, again, I will speak for a number of women our age, but we have more self-assurance, we have more self-direction. There's a lot of things. And if you are finding yourself, that's more of a reactive process, like you're looking outside to find who you might be. But if you are creating yourself, that's a far more proactive process, which gives you the power, which gives you the value, which gives you that excitement of, I am creating myself at this time in my life. So I really like that.
Yeah, thank you. And isn't that pretty exciting though when you think about the truth of that quote? Because when you're a younger woman, you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about your job, and you are a bit lost. I mean, there's another great quote by Nora Ephron, which is I hadn't got anything figured out until I was 50. I was basically clueless, I think she said, until I was 50. And that you try to find your meaning, but you're kind of related to work, children, family. You'd have the opportunity that we do now in our 60s to really create exactly who we want to be.
And I will speak primarily for myself, but I know I'm not alone. We don't necessarily have that confidence that we can do that. Now we feel a lot differently about ourselves, and we also have life perspective. We don't get thrown by the small stuff so much. There's a lot of really wonderful aspects about being our age.
And I think I'm glad you raised that point though about having self-confidence, because if you don't have that self-confidence, you are a little bit looking for guidance and direction. So I would like to pull on your expertise as a career specialist and look at the practice of building a mission statement, where we want to go with our lives. We do it really well when we're looking for a job, when we're building a career or, building a family. We have plans for the future. When we get to be older and we're free of that, I know that you have a strong belief in this, building a mission statement. Can you guide us through the steps? How do we do that?
Well, I would like to. And actually, it's a lot more simple. I mean, it sounds like there's a major life thing that's going to take you days and years or whatever to figure out. And it may, but there is a simple formula to doing it. But I'm going to back up just a minute before we start that, because I think prior to writing a mission statement, it is critical for people to come up with, I say, top 5 values. Right. The term value and evaluate is connected in English and in just about every other language that I know of. So evaluate refers to making choices. Values refers to what's important to you. So if you don't understand what is important to you at this time in your life, how are you going to make appropriate choices? So I think I'll just briefly go through my top values, my top 5.
Great.
To give an example.
Yeah, let's do that.
First one is health, because I think that's important for me. Second one is relationships. I need people, friends, family. I need that. That's really critical to me. Third is my work, and a lot of it's unpaid at this point. So it's more of a vocation. Right. They say avocation, on the side, but a vocation is a calling. Yes. And I think that we are called at this time in our lives. So that's important. Fourth is spirituality, or whatever you want to call it, finding more meaning. And fifth for me is giving back. So when I get to the point of evaluating, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? I can refer back to those 5 values. and see if they are meeting those
Mm-hmm.
needs.
Yeah.
The other thing I suggest when you do a values exercise, and it's not set in stone, they can change. You're not, giving yourself something that will last for the rest of your life.
Yes.
But I suggest once you've written out those 5 values, I always tell people, pull out your checkbook and pull out your calendar. In other words, how are you spending your time? How are you spending your money? And if you are not spending your resources on the values that are important to you, you'd better make a shift, because you are not going to be living the 60s, the years of this decade that we are, with a lot of meaning. And one last point on that, I think I learned this from Suzanne Braun Levine, who wrote a book, 10 Life Lessons for Women Over 50. And that is another blessing of being over 60, is that we have learned to say no. And by saying no, in other words, to these extraneous things, then we make our yes that much more authentic. So I think that all has to deal with values.
I love that. I really love that. And as you're talking, I'm just, I'm overlapping thoughts, because I'm thinking, what are my 5 values? And then I'm also thinking what a great guidance this is to the community. So I want to just take a minute and stop there, because I want the people that are watching to just take a minute and think about what Eileen just said. And, we just pause and think, what are your 5 values? What are the 5 things that are really important to you in your life? And after this tape, maybe write them down in the comment section below, and we can have a conversation, because it's actually interesting. I've done several articles on style. What are the 3 words that describe your style? And if you can align your life, your visual life around you to those style principles, then it's easier to buy clothes, for one thing. And, but with life values, it's the same. It's like if your health is a value and you're not exercising, well, it's not going to happen probably, or it won't happen to the level it could. So good point. So I love that. And I think that, I think my values are very similar to yours. I mean, if I think about 60andMe, our values or our principles are around health, financial security, independence, and, independence is a bucket for, I love to travel. I love to learn. I love to read, all those passions in life. And then work, of course, is in the financial category. But, okay, we've done our 5 values. We looked at how we're spending our money and our time to support them. Now let's do the mission statement. What's next? Because then you got it. Yeah. And basically for people, a mission statement is simply a statement of where you're going.
Where you're going.
What's important.
And as I said too, I pared this down to a very simple formula, and people can use this as they choose. But I think first off, you want to identify your skills and talents that give you energy. The things you do that give you those aha moments. I nailed it. I feel really good about myself. And 2, 3, or 4. Again, I'm limiting it. We're just the point of getting clarity at this point. So 2, 3, or 4 of these skills or talents that give you energy. So you want to think of that. Then the next step would be 1 or 2 ways that you best express these particular talents or skills. So it could be through writing, it could be through teaching, it could be through gardening, it could be through cooking. There's a whole lot of different ways, but how do you best express these talents that give you energy, that feed your soul? And then finally, the step number 3 is, how do you want these to affect the world outside you? Or what do you want to do with these? What do you want to accomplish with these? So it can be very clear. And Margaret, if you don't mind, I took the liberty of creating your mission statement.
Oh, you did? Oh, you saved me the time. Thank you. Okay, let's see whether you
choose to use it or not. This is a very personal thing, but I want to get this right. So I'm going to read this on my computer. Okay, this is Margaret speaking.
All right.
I will use my ability to engage and inspire others through writing and speaking to enrich the lives of women over 60.
That I do. And that's great. And see, that then becomes the focus for my activities. So you're right. I mean, my community is my passion. I do reach them through writing and through video and other means of communication. And that is really what I've committed my life to. So, and I think underneath that all too, though, is my values. And I wanted to pull that together because when you were saying your values, one for me is kindness and compassion, maybe the same word, but it's kind of my North Star, that I just try to be kind. And that then drives those activities with the community that you've so accurately declared there. What's yours?
Well, I wrote yours. I have to think about mine, but it would be very similar. Yes.
Well, I think
a little different focus. Women over 60, of course, are a passion of mine as well. But mine might be more to help people find work as they get older, meaningful work as they get older. So, that. But the basics, I think, are you just really want to think of, again, the skills and talents that give you energy are things that are oftentimes, I don't know if you want to use the term God-given, but we are born with, and these are our particular gifts that we can share with the world. And the way that we best express these, again, are another form of these talents. And then what do we hope to achieve? So we had talked earlier at another time about mortality and, those thoughts about I want to find meaning and leave the world a better place. So I think by writing a mission statement, again, it's not set in stone. You can change it, but I think it can be very helpful in determining what you want out of life at this time.
Yeah. And I think that comes full circle really to how we started, which is that this is a time of life where we are free, or we're freer than we were in the time during our life when we had other commitments in work, for example, in work that was maybe not so meaningful, but maybe more, circumstantial, that we'd gone to nursing school, so we ended up being a nurse, but that wasn't maybe our real passion. Maybe we wanted to be a cake maker or something else. But now's the time to do some of those things that we have not, had the opportunity to do.
And that brings me to one more thought on values is when we're younger, a lot of times our values tend to be more externally focused.
Yes.
I want the title, I want the career, I want the high salary, or whatever it is, And as we age, they tend to be more internally focused, that search for authenticity and meaning and joy and being compassionate with other people, those kinds of things. I think there is definitely a value shift over time as well.
Well, I think we're blessed actually to have this extra time that we maybe didn't expect, that life has, given us this gift. And I think as 60-year-old women, we've got years ahead of us, and it's well worth our time to, determine our values like you've described and to build a mission statement. Why not? I mean, there's nothing stopping us, right?
Exactly.
Thanks, Eileen. It's really great to talk with you. Thank you so much for your insights and your
Great
knowledge.
to talk with you, Margaret. Thanks for having me as your guest.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.